So, hi there, my name is Sam, and I'm here on another podcast in Driveli. I've got here Bhav, who is a driving instructor in the Birmingham area. And listen, I know you guys already know that the podcast is only for driving instructors, so I'm going to skip the whole idea that she's a driving instructor, she covers these areas. But Bhav, I just want to get an idea, what were you doing before you became a driving instructor? Because it was quite recently.
Yeah, so I've been in recruitment and sales for about 25 years. So been working, finding people jobs and then going into the bigger world of recruitment and winning contracts, etc. So very much sales led, people led. That was my world.
Okay, so, and, you know, I've always, because I worked in a bit of recruitment, and it's a very tough industry.
Absolutely.
You know, the performance that's needed on it, because it's week by week, how much have you done, how well have you done? The fact that you've done it for so long, right? There has to be an element of that you've enjoyed the job as well.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the job because for me it's about people. At the very beginning of my career, it was about finding that person the job that they wanted and then being successful. But as that grew and my role grew in that world, it was then about winning big contracts with big companies. But I think at the heart of it is I'm a people person, and it's making sure that I deliver results for the people that I'm working with.
Sure. I'm gonna bring in the driving instructor school that you're in a little later. But you mentioned the point about I'm a people person. How important is it to make sure that when you're assessing people and you're also trying to share them the recruitment service that you have, how is it important is that you get to know that person and they get to know you?
It's really important. It's from a driving point of view, a learner comes in really daunted, really scared, not having really an idea of just how much is involved in passing a test and getting a license and the independence that it gives them at the end of the day. There's a level of pressure that they put on themselves. And they walk into my car and they want to feel settled, unnerved, and they want to feel that somewhere along the lines they're going to get this, and they need someone to take them on that journey that's going to give them the comfort.
I think the little point that where you're making an assessment of their temperament and where they are mentally, but indirectly they're also making an assessment of you.
Absolutely.
And you know what, learners could tell, or I guess people in general could tell when you're being disingenuous or not. So off camera, you mentioned about learners with certain anxiety or stress level, right? How is that? What are the telltale signs that when a learner has those particular feelings when driving a car for the first time?
Often they take deep breaths. Often they don't want to necessarily start the car or get going. That it's having the comfort to talk through what is this journey going to be like, and it's understanding at what point do we get them going. They're paying for a lesson, they're paying to be behind the wheel, but making sure that they understand what the component parts of that journey is going to be like for them. Often they'll get in their car, they'll have sweaty palms, they'll feel warm and hot, maybe need to open some windows for them, maybe even just put on a bit of music just to calm them. But going at their pace and telling them that, there is no end goal within a timeline unless it works for them and it's working with them to get them where they need to be.
Sure. But there's something that you mentioned off camera that I didn't realize how important it was until you've highlighted it. When you've had a learner that was quite nervous, quite anxious, and through the lessons that you delivered, they began to improve. What you kept doing, you kept reminding them, remember that lesson that you had that you wasn't so good at, now you're good at it. But you felt that this was part of the way you should be teaching, to remind them of their previous good points or the previous achievements. How did that come about? Because I feel like, because you didn't talk that much about that, but that was absolutely crucial. And I don't think many instructors that I've spoken to, right, have that. It's just like forward, a linear approach. This topic, next topic.
Absolutely. Taking it in bite-sized chunks, or taking it from a element of fear and them actually feeling like they've got this. So the example I gave you off camera was this one lady who was very, very anxious when she got in the car the very first time she was with me. Sweaty palms, really, really nervous, has put it off for 18 months, 2 years, almost felt she's never going to be able to do it. Family and friends been pushing her, but by default she got recommended me. it was just going, do you remember when we drove down this road, when we very, very first started, and just how nervous you were? Look at you now, look at where you've come. And she was like, I know, I just can't believe it. I can't believe this is me now. And it wasn't that long ago. I never thought I'd be this far along my journey.
Because it creeps in, doesn't it? You know, that the self-doubt creeps in. Even though you've told them that you got this right, the self-doubt creeps in. Then you have to remind them, what about a week ago? What about 2 weeks ago?
Absolutely.
You know,
and then you're going to go on to the next stage of their learning. So, for example, that was just moving off and stopping at the beginning. They're now doing minor roads to major roads. But then we're going to go on to roundabouts and they're like, that's just too much. It's making them realise that, do you remember when you thought a hill start was too much?
Sure.
And look at how you can do that now. You can do that without my help altogether now. But remember when it was just a... and that makes them go, oh yeah, I really hated hill starts. So if I can do that now, I should be okay if I apply that same logic to roundabouts, for example.
Sure. And I guess the reminder is that if my trainer feels confident that I could do it, then I can do it. You know, I believe in you. You know, that reassurance that
Absolutely.
But reassurance comes from different ways. It's not just verbally telling you, it's just the reminders as well. And I think that's quite interesting, your approach to dealing with stressful learners, right, who, like I said, haven't been always wanting to do it, but just was, for whatever reason, just delayed it one after another, really. Do you find that from the learners that you've got, right, a lot of them have this sort of anxious feeling, or is it just case by case, really?
It's case by case. Some are very confident, some have just had such a passion for cars and wanting to do it, or they've watched TikTok videos and they kind of know what they're talking about, or they think they know what they're talking about, and they get in and actually I've got to rein them in because it's not how they think it is, you know. Different people come in with different experiences and life experiences as well. So other elements within their lives where they've maybe not succeeded in some of the things that they've wanted to achieve, or the people around them haven't been as supportive as maybe they had wanted them to be. And it's just going, you know what, it's you and me, we're in the car, we've got this, we'll do it together, we'll work at your pace. And some things I'll pick up like this, and other things naturally just take time. Some things, they got it this week, 3 weeks down the road, we're having to take it back. And we're having to say, you know what, remember when we did this? I had a girl only yesterday, which 2 weeks ago we did hill starts and she got it. And yesterday, doesn't matter how much we looked at it, we were going round, and I had to take it back to basics and just go, right, let's get this. Clutch, accelerator, come on, let's find your bite. When do you put your handbrake down? And we just pulled up at the side of the road, did it 2 or 3 times again, back to basics. Then we went out onto the big bad world again, into the roads, and she was like, yeah, I'd forgotten how to do that. Thank you for doing that. And so sometimes you do have to take a couple of steps back again to move forward.
Sure. So part driving instructor, part therapist. I got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So listen, you've been delivering lessons for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the looks of it, I think you from my conversation with you off camera, I've been quite overwhelmed with how passionate and how you've taken on the job, because from, I would say, the level of teaching that you have, and I personally believe is because of your skills and experience from recruitment. I really want to sort of delve into the business side of things, because I just want to let you know, Bhav is in an independent, it's their own school. And a lot of instructors, they don't go into it straight away. They take some time. They either join a franchise first before they decide to go independent. And sometimes, most people, they're just happy being on the franchise side of things. So from this segment is to do with business, and especially a lady of color becoming an independent instructor and starting your own business and dealing with admin that's outside of, you know, most people's sort of awareness. What brought you into deciding, I'm going to set up my own school?
So COVID happened.
Okay.
I worked in recruitment and nobody was recruiting. So I had to think about, where do I go now? What is going to happen to what I've known, my industry, what I've worked in for however long? And I've been very, very successful. And I thought, well, what do I do? So in life, I decided to pivot. And I wanted to do something for myself that was going to require some investment, but not lots of infrastructure costs. I didn't want to do recruitment for myself because I was going to have the same challenges, but not necessarily the backing of a big corporate, because I'd worked for big corporates. And I thought, well, what am I good at? And what can I do? What skills have I got? and where can I develop? And I knew that I was a people person, and I've always been passionate about cars. So my dad was massively into cars. So I've always been around cars. I passed my test at 17 years of age after 10 lessons.
Wow.
I know, because I was with my dad all the time, and he would always
course,
show
yeah,
me, you know, he was a bit of a mechanic sideline.
So you're, again, I'm recruiting, you're looking at the transferable skills, aren't you?
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah, of
transferable
course. Yeah,
skills.
yeah,
And I was like, what can I
fantastic.
do where I'm kind of halfway there, and the infrastructure cost is not going to be an office, a business, a setup.
What you're familiar with, absolutely,
Absolutely, because
yeah.
you know, the argument was had with me many a time. Why did you not set up your own recruitment business? You've been so successful in recruitment. Your career is massive.
You know it inside and out, yeah.
Absolutely. And I've been, you know, I was a high flyer in my industry, but I just didn't want the infrastructure costs and everything that went with it. And so I thought, right. And a friend of mine had suggested, why don't you become a driving instructor? And I thought, right, okay, I'm going to look into it. So I looked into it, looked at the infrastructure costs. They had a car come along that had been part exchanged into their business that was a driving school car, so timing of the universe and all of that. And I decided to buy the car, and I looked into a couple of companies, and I did an online training course with some in-car training to become an instructor. So I paid for the car, the insurance, and the training course through COVID.
Wow.
But then, weirdly, with my background in recruitment, I managed to secure some employment again in the madness of COVID, doing sales and doing recruitment. So decided to train to become an instructor on the side as a sideline whilst I was doing
So I just want to
my
get this
main
straight. So I
job.
just want to get this straight. You were working, was that a full-time job?
So I
or
did the job for a full-time job, but I covered Monday to Thursday so that
pretty
I
much
could
full-time, yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much, it was a full-time role, but I
Yeah.
just condensed it into
Sure.
4 days. And then I did my training to become an instructor
Amazing, yeah.
across my weekends and the Friday. And then that started to take off. So then word of mouth, customers, all my customers had come word of mouth to fill those 3 days. And I've come to a crossroads again where I was like, well, what do I do? And I really enjoyed my driving, and I enjoyed my driving school and my learners, and I've just kind of decided to pivot full circle into the world of having my own driving school.
And how are you, through the lens of a recruiter, someone who has a corporate background, what's your take on the industry so far?
So it's saturated. There's a lot of instructors out there. There's a lot of companies out there. But I think that there are some people that go rogue, and there's some people that really want to put into the journey for each of the individual learners and get successful outcomes. So I think it's varied. We're in a big city, Birmingham, and obviously me, Solihull, as well, where there are a lot of people, there are a lot of young people especially, who want to get into having their own car and the independence of learning to drive. And it's difficult for them to find the right person, the right company, the right individual to take them on that journey. From a corporate point of view, yes, there are the big players out there, and they've got the marketing costs, and they've got the infrastructure behind them. It's a bit harder for the smaller independents. And where I think the benefit of that is the people that come to you because they've been told that their child, their friend, their whoever has been on a journey and it's been a successful one, and they've enjoyed that interaction, and they've enjoyed even the parents. You know, I've got some reviews from parents where they've just said, you know what, we like that she'll check in with us because we want to know how that my daughter's getting on or my son's getting on. We want that feedback. We like that. We like that actually she's quite flexible and we can talk to her directly. We haven't got to go through a switchboard and, you know, a booking system that an external party doesn't have that necessarily, that
Absolutely,
engagement.
yeah. No.
So I think there's some transferable pieces that come across from corporate, from my sales world,
100%,
the people
absolutely,
piece,
yeah.
etc.
I think from because you know what it is, Bhav. I speak to, you know, hundreds of instructors a week, and I've noticed that when certain people come from certain backgrounds, right, with skills that I think that would really suit the industry perfectly well, as opposed to, and I'm not knocking them, but when you haven't had these sort of years and decades of experience in different environments, right, there's nothing to sort of put in. It's just that this is how you teach a learner, this is what you say to a learner, this is what you need to inform them, and this is what you need to confirm that they have learned it. And it's very, what I've just said to you, right, it's very robotic, it's very like a tick box exercise. well, you have to put that empathetic, you have to put that sort of awareness, you have to look at those social cues that you notice within that learner. And I think you're also bringing that to the industry. I genuinely think that you're going to do really well, and I'm glad that we're part of this journey, considering that this is you starting off. The fact that you've decided and invested in both sort of a manual and an automatic.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't make that call. It wouldn't make sense for them to make that call. I'll just stick with one. But you're looking at the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it's. I think you'll be adjusting your business plan almost every month because you know it's needed depending on what's trending at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that different demographics, parents often wanting their children to do manual. A lot of women prefer automatic for fear of the clutch and the biting point and all of that, and some scaremongery that goes on. But newer cars, automatic, electric cars are the way forward.
Yeah.
So, for me, I've invested in electric and auto to cater to the full demographic and to be able to offer all of those services out to the customer base. Because, often I was getting calls from people that are saying, oh, my friend's daughter passed with you, but we only want automatic. Can you cover it? No, sorry. Do you know anyone? And I'm having to pass that business away. And they've come to me from recommendation, but I didn't have that mechanism. And so now with going from part-time to full-time, it allows me the scope to be able to offer both. And then as the world changes, obviously right now fuel costs are massive. So manual cars, there's an expense that goes with that.
Correct.
Electric car now, it balances some of that out,
yeah.
But also newer, more modern, more economic. It's being able to offer a service to all.
But this is going back to the business side of things, that you're thinking about the repercussions of the climate, the economical, the political avenue. How is that affecting me, my industry? And you can't just look at this month, this year. You have to look in a couple of years ahead,
Absolutely.
right? A simple change by the ULEZ, right, had a huge impact on driving instructors. And when you try to message the council, listen, I drive around there, but it's not ULEZ friendly, so what do you do? And their argument, well, do you work there? No, I don't work there. I work around there because they couldn't comprehend your industry. They said, well, no, you have to pay ULEZ because it wasn't part of the drop-down options. It wasn't there. So therefore, no, you'd have to pay. So these are the adjustments you have to work around the political arena, really. And I think, you've got a really good foresight of what to expect and how to manage it. And I think it's all about when situation happens, is what to do with it, not to just cry about it, really. Bhav, and listen, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that we're part of your journey. And listen, we're going to be, hopefully in September, we're going to be attending a driving event. And I'd really like to see you there.
Definitely, I'll be there.
Brilliant. All right. Listen, thanks for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Brilliant.